Alright, check out this baby that rolled in. 1967 Triumph T100. This thing is awesome. Everything on this bike is original except for the front tire, and the frame has been repainted. And there's been some change to this fuse. So this fuse used to be like one of them glass fuses, but somebody changed it to a newer style fuse at some point. Look at that. This thing is just nice. Not having any rust for being a motorcycle in Michigan this old is crazy. And of course it's here. It's found its way here because it has some sort of problems. I hardly get anything that doesn't have some sort of problem. This isn't mine. I'm fixing this for somebody that I know. So the problem that it has is nothing is turning on. You turn the key on, you get no headlight, no tail lights, nothing. And this thing will not start. So we're going to try and figure out what's going on with it. Anytime they put in a new fuse, it blows the fuse right away. So let's dive into this thing and see if we can't get it started. Unfortunately, there will be no test riding because it's winter time. So right now everything is off. I'm going to go ahead and pull this fuse out. You can see right there. Right here you can see that gap. That fuse is blown. So I'm going to stick a new fuse in it. We'll see what happens. Oh, it's already sparking. And gone. Just like that. Already popped it. So they're right. It does just keep snapping the fuses. Oh, this will be an interesting one. Electrical problems are always fun to figure out. And if you didn't know this about Triumphs, the negative, at least the Triumphs of this year I should say, the negative side is actually the hot red wires. And then the positive side is actually your ground. So don't be confused about this red wire here that somebody had put in. This is actually a ground wire, and then this is your hot wire. So they kind of run everything backwards from what I am normally used to, which is going to make this even twice as confusing. So my goal is to start by unplugging these things and seeing if maybe that fixes it. I figure it'd be easier just to start unplugging stuff and throwing a new fuse in until it stops blowing the fuse. And that should tell me where my problem is at. So with these two unplugged, I'm going to stick a fuse in and see what happens. And that was not it. So I'll plug those back in and move on to something else. Okay, so now I got these two wires here that go back to the tail light unplugged. There's two wires down here. I'm not really sure where they go to, but I have them unplugged as well. And then there's a brake sensor switch right in here by that shock I have unplugged. Alright, with those three things unplugged, I'm going to pop another fuse in. Well, it didn't pop. It did spark a little bit. Oh, there it goes. And another one's gone. So I'll plug those three things back in. And then I think I'll move to the front of the bike and mess around the headlight and key switch area. Well, the key switch is off, so I don't think that's the problem. But I'm going to go ahead and unplug these three wires to the back of the key switch. Okay, time to slap in another fuse. And another one bites the dust. So, alright, those are plugged back in. Time to move on to something else. So underneath the gas tank here, there's some wires that go into this black box. I'm going to unplug those and then see what happens. Alright, with the wires on that black box unplugged, I'm going to drop another fuse in. Oh, that wasn't it. Another one gone again. Alright, I'll plug those back in and see if I can find something else. This is kind of starting to suck. Okay, so right here, above the front tire, there's a wire that runs into the back of this fin looking thing. There's a wire right there. I'm going to unplug that one. It's actually two wires go into the same plug. And then it has wires underneath of it as well. So I'm going to unplug the wires underneath down here and then see what happens. Hey, there we go. We got onto something here. It did not blow the fuse. Alright. Look at that. The fuse is still good after unplugging that fin looking thing that's above the front tire. So I'm going to go look up and see what that is supposed to be. Alright, so back here is the thing that's unplugged I was telling you about. So this is actually a Zener diode, and this fin is just kind of for cooling purposes, and it looks pretty cool, but it's mostly just to cool it down if it gets too hot. So any extra power from the motor is supposed to come through here and then get grounded out to the frame so you don't overpower your electronics and blow your light bulbs and stuff. So I'm guessing this one's shorting out and sending all the power to the ground, and then that's causing the fuse to blow. So if I can locate one of these in the area, I'll go pick one up and slap a new diode in there and hope that fixes our problem. So the only thing holding this on is this one bolt right here that goes in the bottom right there. So you unscrew this and it pulls this whole assembly out. And then you have this one wire right here. The bolt goes through the bottom and holds it all together. Then with this, we can pop this plastic cap off right here, and there's a nut inside. We can unscrew this piece and get this whole diode out and see if we can go find a new one, or hopefully, if we get lucky enough, just find this whole assembly. Alright, I'm back already. That wasn't too bad. Made a couple phone calls. Got a little baggie full of them. We'll see if we can get one of these to fit. This one here, I was told works, so we're gonna slap this one in. I'm gonna plug this wire back in. Alright. New one is installed. It's looking good in there. There is another option I was told about, is you can delete this and then update it to a new system. I guess there's some black box that you can wire in that's just kind of like a rectifier regulator or something like that, and then it just eliminates this part altogether. But since everything else on this bike is pretty much original, I'd like to keep some original parts on it. I don't want to update it to anything new. So let's go put a new fuse in it, see if this thing's working or not. The moment of truth right here. I got a 20 amp fuse. Voila! Still didn't pop the fuse. I'm gonna go ahead and turn the key on. Oh, headlight works. Fuse is still doing good. Unpopped. Tail light's on. Alright. I think I'm gonna check the oil in this thing and see if we can't get her running. That's kind of fun. All because of one little part grounding out. Let's see what kind of miles we have on here. 10,000 miles. Check this out. So you turn the lights on. Lights on good. And this little push button right here is the switch between low beam and high beam. That's pretty cool. And there's actually two bulbs in there. There's a little bulb down here that's on right now with the headlight turned off, and there's a big bulb right here. When I turn the headlight on, that big bulb turns on. So just for fun, I'm going to pull these spark plugs out and check for spark and check the compression. That plug's pretty black. That might be something to look into in the future if this thing don't start up. Definitely should be addressed at some point. Looks like 140 psi. Well, 135 psi of compression on the left side. Let's check the right side. The right side's also really black. So definitely got some sort of jetting issue going on. Let's check the compression. We're expecting for something around 135 also. Since it's a single carb, it would be pretty sweet if they both matched up. Otherwise they'll be running quite a bit different. Hundred and 40 psi. Perfect. We'll check for spark on this right side. I guess it helps if you turn the key on. Oh yeah. There we go. Okay, spark on the left side. Oh yeah. So we got a spark on both sides. And just for more fun, I might shove my camera down the cylinder and see what the cylinder walls look like. I'm going to stick a screwdriver in the cylinder just to make sure that we're on the bottom. See, right now this piston's right on the top. Okay, now the piston's on the bottom. I can stick my camera in this cylinder, see what it looks like. Alright, we're on the right side here. We're going to go ahead and stick the camera down in the hole. There's quite a bit of rust in there. You see that rust on the side, that dark spot. It's probably because this thing never gets ran. Or at least hasn't got ran much in the past 30 years. You can still see some cross hatching. See, the top of the piston is pretty dirty, not terrible. You can see where my flathead screwdriver was on the top of the piston right there. The scratch marks when I was checking if the piston was all the way at the bottom. Not bad though. I'll go ahead and check the left side. Alright, going in the left side here. Yep, top of the piston's pretty dirty, kind of to be expected. You can see those dark rusty spots on the side of the cylinder also. Still see the cross hatching. I don't see any up and down scratches, so it's looking pretty decent. About the best you can expect for a motor that has never been rebuilt from a bike that's made in the 1960s. Alright, this thing should run. Let's send it. Alright, before I kick this thing over, got the spark plugs in, got the boots back on. I'd like to go over a couple things I find real interesting about this bike. One, it's a 4-stroke, and the oil has a reservoir tank. That tank sits right here, so your 4-stroke oil is in this tank that you fill up from here, and then it feeds into the motor. So I found that kind of different from what we have with our newer bikes. Also, this gear shift selector right here is kind of in a weird spot because you wouldn't look down to see what gear you're in, but it's pretty neat because you can switch gears, and this little arm right here moves to whichever gear that you're in. Next, your fuel reserve and on are under the tank, but they're on opposite sides. So one's over here, the other one is over there. And to turn your fuel on, you have to pull this. It's kind of difficult to do. We got to pull this little valve right here out like that. So now if the fuel's on, with this little arm out, the fuel is on. So you push it back in, and that shuts the fuel off. So you got a on side, and then on the other side of the tank you have a reserve. I'm not really sure if this is the reserve or on the right side, but this is the one I'm going to be using. So you got to pull this out to get fuel to run through this line into the carb. And then on the top of the carb, there's this little button right here, and you have to push this down in order for the carburetor to fill up with gas. So you just keep pushing this down right there until gas comes out, and then now it's ready to start. If you don't push this down, you'll kick this bike over 1,000,000 times, and this thing just will not want to go. So you have to bleed the fuel like that. And lastly, what I found interesting about this bike is the pistons run up and down together. So they're both on bottom at the same time, and they both go up at the top at the same time, which is weird because all the bikes I've worked on before are opposite. So they kind of run up and down like this, versus this bike all runs at the same time. So I found that pretty cool when I was sticking the camera down in the cylinders. Both of them were at bottom at the same time, and they're both at the top at the same time. So I've never seen that before. But without further ado, let's kick this thing over, see if we can't get it to start. thing sounds awesome. Oh, and she died. That thing sounds so cool. Man, I wish there wasn't snow out there so I could give it a test drive. I'm gonna start it up again, give it a couple more revs just so I can hear it, and then call this one a wrap. And then one more thing I didn't mention. The shifter's on the right side of the bike. Yeah, that's right. Shifter's over here. Brake pedal's over here. That'll really throw you off if you've been riding with the shifter on the left your whole life and the brake pedal on the right. But that's how they made these bikes back then. It's very confusing. And these pipes are up here and not below the bike because this is the off-road version of the Triumph Trophy 500. This is not their street version. And one last little note, if you have one of these bikes, it's super weird and I didn't see this coming because it's not electric start or anything like that, but if the battery is dead, the bike will not run. So that's why it died earlier. The battery just went to 0 and it wouldn't start again. I hooked this jump starter up to the battery and I came back in 10 minutes and it starts up first kick again. So a little note there, your battery cannot die. Let's get this thing started back up again just so we can hear it. If you like my videos, please subscribe. You can hit the thumbs up button if you like this video also, and stay tuned for the next one we have. Hopefully I'll still have this thing lingering around in the springtime and I'll be able to go over and jump on it and take you guys for a test drive. This thing's pretty awesome.